A flurry of kidnappings taking place in the Gauteng area. Prominent businessmen, young businessmen in particular, that have been targeted. I think there have been four in the recent weeks. The last one, Hamza Khan of Khan's Butchery, that was released just last night after a police operation. Imtiaz, can we talk about that a little bit? What has been the sentiment in the KZN area? Have you picked up similar trends, perhaps, or threats in that region?
100%. We've seen it for quite a while now. I mean, since 2013, 2014, we've seen these sorts of crimes happening. And I think they two parts. One is kidnapping for the purposes of human trafficking, and the other one is for the purposes of financial gain in terms of ransom and that kind of thing. So they're separate issues completely, and they obviously need to be dealt with accordingly. But we're noticing a trend. It is happening. There is a vast criminal network that's working in our country at the moment that's looking into these sorts of crimes, which are really concerning because it takes away from normalization for us, civil society.
Now, okay, let's break them down. Let's take a look first at the issue around kidnapping of children and human trafficking, because we've also seen that go viral across South Africa. And we've actually received from our community policing board here in the Gauteng area a warning to people saying that, look, some of these may be rumors. There has been a case or two that have taken place, but if you know of any information, please report them so that police can act. How serious an issue is it right now in South Africa?
You see, I think most of it is coming down to people believing it or believing it based on what they believe it was going to be. It was attempted, or they felt that someone was targeting their children, but they really don't have actual evidence to say that it was going to be actual kidnapping of a child for human trafficking purposes. However, those instances do occur, and the statistics state that 77% of the people that went missing are found and 23% are not. From those, how many are children and how many are not, we cannot identify. And I think there needs to be robust discussions with the South African police services to actually identify for us, and if there is an issue regarding kidnapping or human trafficking per se, then it needs to be brought to the community to say that we do have this issue and these are the measures that we need to take. I think the biggest challenge we do face is that statistics, when it comes down from government, is very vague and it's not pointed. If we can point in a clear direction and advise communities as to exactly where our challenges are in terms of all types of crimes, then we clearly know. However, when communities come out in through social media platforms and all of these things, then it becomes hearsay, and what we tend to interpret, we tend to believe, and those things cause a bit of fear and scare in communities at large. So I'm saying we need to have actual statistics and facts before we actually go on a rampage and say we have a major issue. And is it justified in us actually saying that? That is a question we're still asking up to date. So I'm saying it's only SAPS that can give us confirmed cases of kidnapping, whether it was children under the age of 18, what is the age category, was it kidnapping for ransom, was it kidnapping and the child has been found 2 days later, what is it exactly, I mean, we've seen many cases of missing persons where, young girls and children, they go away they're missing for a weekend. And it's just on Monday or Tuesday that you see that the parents or some family member puts out that, found safe. So we kind of understand that sometimes these things happen, right? But we cannot put all of them in the same basket and say that we have a human trafficking issue. If there is one, government needs to clearly identify that for us, and then we need to come up with measures for it. However, when it comes down to general basic children safety, that's the most important thing any parent can actually engage in. And I come back to everything that we speak about when it comes down to crime. When it comes down to your child, what is their emergency reaction plan? Yes. What do they do in terms of crime at home? What do they do in terms of stranger danger? Are you monitoring their online presence, their social media presence? Who are their friends? What are the contact numbers of their friends? Where are they going to? And not to be intrusive, so to speak. I mean, you got an 18-year-old, they don't really want you in their business. But I'm saying to a certain degree, you need to have that sort of sense of where your child is and what they're busy doing, who they're contacting, who they're speaking to online, and the contact numbers of the people that they would. So in case your child's phone is dead or got stolen, how do you then contact your child? You don't know, So all of those things need to happen. And we're not going to give you a roadmap. We're not going to tell you this is how it needs to be, because every single person and every single individual, based on their character and how they respond, would respond to different scenarios differently, and it needs to be suited accordingly.
And how would you, react to parents who would go to the shopping mall, for example? They're engrossed in their phones all the time, not paying much attention to the little ones, the 4, 5, 6, 7 year olds that are tagging along behind them. What responsibility do parents play in all of this?
I'm going to be very blunt about it. If you want to go to a shopping mall with your child, and if you're not going to give attention to your child, you might as well leave your child at home to play the PlayStation. And it doesn't serve any purpose for you to even do that, because it takes you away from your child in itself. The problem with our cell phones and all of the technology and our fourth industrial revolution and all of these things, it's now taking away human interaction. I mean, when our children grow up at the age of 5, 6, 7, right up to 13, that is the interactive age by which they need engagement with their parents. Those are the memories that they keep. However, if we currently spend most of our time on our phones, and so do our children, whether it's PlayStation or whether it's TV or Netflix or whatever it is, and we're not really spending any family time, then in fact you don't know your child. And when your child goes missing, that is the time you want to now start asking all these questions. It's a bit too late, So it's important for engagement with your children all the time. There needs to be family time. I mean, how many of us today currently sit and actually have dinner at a table? That's a question I ask all the time. So, and that's the most important time, I think, for just basic face-to-face interaction, and that's very important.
When a child comes into that particular situation, how can parents help to train their children to react in a way that can ensure their safety? If Allah forbid, a kidnapping is planned or has been a child is identified, what can a parent teach their child to try and mitigate those circumstances?
I think what we need to remember is that these things are orchestrated by adults. And an adult compared to a child in terms of self-defense and protection comes down to basically three things. Bite, scream, and draw attention to yourself so that someone can see what is going on. I mean, that individual that's going to be witnessing it would obviously now have some sort of IP as to what time, who took the child, all of those things. So it's important for that to happen. So it's bite, scream, and draw attention. That's all we can really advise a child. You can't really tell a child that, you need to take out your phone and call this number or get onto Zello or do this or do that. That's not going to happen. So we've got to be practical about what a child can do and cannot do. And based on that, you've got to advise the child accordingly.
Imtiaaz Sayed, Chairman of eThekweni Secure. Jazakallah khairan as always for your time. Speak to you again inshallah next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media.
لا تقل لوحدي أو كيف السبيل.
Humanity sets the agenda.
تصنع المستحيل.